A GoPro Hero 6 Black in a gimbal. I love this gadget, use it all the time, mostly on my motorbike. I stick it on the handlebars on a little ram mount, point it where I like, and guaranteed I get back rock steady, super smooth footage. I've used it all over the place. I've ridden in the UK with this, in Spain, France, Andorra in Europe, been down to Africa, South Africa, Namibia. Wherever I go, whatever I'm riding over, this gives me absolutely superb results. I thought this cannot be bettered. And then I heard about the new Hero 7 with the new image stabilization software. And I thought that sounds good, but it's not going to be anywhere near as good as a proper gimbal. And then I heard Nick Woodman, CEO of GoPro himself, say, with regards gimbals, rest in peace. He pretty much labelled the 7 the gimbal killer. And I thought, okay, that sounds like sales nonsense. I'm not falling for that. Yes, I did. I went and bought one. Gimbal-like Hypersmooth stabilization. Gimbal-like. Here it is, Hero 7. I thought, well, if it is truly gimbal-like, absolute result, because I can keep this and I can sell this not gimbal-like real gimbal on eBay along with the 6. This is far more convenient to carry around than lugging this thing around. I went out today to test them, stuck them on the motorbike, rode around. I thought, I really want this to be as good as they say. I'm doing the footage now, going to go through it with you. Here's a spoiler alert from what I've just seen. This is not for sale. It is a beautiful day. I was here the other day and it was absolutely freezing, but today is perfect. The sun is out, which is good because I'm testing my GoPros. Everyone says that gimbals are dead and the new 7, which arrived yesterday, has killed the gimbal. The image stabilization on it is supposed to be so good you don't need a gimbal anymore. I don't think that is true. I don't think image stabilization can do what I want from image stabilization on the bike. The trouble is on the bike, especially because I'm strapped onto the handlebars, when I hit rough terrain, the bars are moving left and right and they're swinging the camera left and right, and the gimbal corrects all that. It's incredible at doing that, really, really good, as well as also, of course, maintaining a level horizon. I don't have to worry about whether it's pointing too high or too low, because it never is. I don't think image stabilization can get close to doing that sort of stuff. If anyone's wondering, I am riding on the TET, which is the Trans-European Trail. It's a network of thousands of kilometers of off-road trails all over Europe, all perfectly legal to ride on. A byway open to all traffic. You can walk on it, ride your horse on it, ride your bicycle on it, that thing on it. There's me. You can even take a car on it legally. You would need to be nuts to take your car on some of these trails. I'm also on the wrong bike. This is not my bike. This is a CRF 250L. This is Jenna's bike. My bike is currently at the shop being worked on at the moment. This is an awesome bike. I love this bike. If anyone is just thinking of getting one, go ahead. You will not regret it, especially if you're a beginner. It's just so easy to ride. However, we have set this bike up absolutely perfectly for Jen, who is 5'6" and 120 pounds, and she's ridden this thing up and over mountains. It's superb. I'm 6'6" and 220 pounds. I rode down here with my knees up round my elbows, looking like I just hired it in Thailand on a gap year or something. Okay, let's get riding. Okay, at this point I need to explain how I've set this up. In fact, let me show you how I've set this up. Okay, so this is the setup. Both are mounted on the ram mounts that normally hold the wing mirrors on the bike. So they're both mounted exactly the same distance from the center of the bike. They're therefore both affected exactly the same by the turning of the handlebars. The 6 in the gimbal and the 7 just in its normal little housing. Okay, quick point. Ignore the image quality on this. This is purely about stabilization of the footage. The conditions for the GoPro are not great. I'm riding underneath trees, which means it's going from bright sunshine to shadow. GoPros aren't great at that anyway. So forget the image quality. We're looking just at stabilisation. Game over. Gimbal-like, that's not gimbal-like at all. Do GoPro know what a gimbal is? I assume so. They make the thing. That is not gimbal-like. I watched that and was just, what? Okay, let's go back and watch that full screen, first with the gimbal and then without the gimbal, and then I let it play on side by side and you can watch it. I gotta go and delete my eBay advert for a gimbal. You get the idea. It is not gimbal-like at all. It is stabilised and it's very well stabilised, but it's not gimbal-like. Watch a few more clips just to convince yourself if you need that. Okay, so the thing's bouncing around all over the place. So it's not gimbal-like, and how could it be? What image stabilization does is it crops out the top, the bottom, the sides, left and right, the bits that are constantly moving out of frame, and it retains the central image that is not moving out of frame. Perfect. What it can't do is the camera swinging backwards and forwards, up and down. It can't deal with that. It simply doesn't know how to. The gimbal does it 1,000 times better. That's your jerky footage. It crops out the extremes. It leaves you with a much, much smoother profile. That's a gimbal. It is not gimbal-like. So where does that leave things? Well, first of all, the stabilisation is very, very good on the 7. This footage coming up is where I've taken the 7 down the track without the gimbal, just with its stabilisation mode on, and I've then done the same route with the 6 outside the gimbal. And you can see the 7 is way, way better than the 6. There's no question about it. Without a gimbal, the 7 is a far more stable image. It's also worth just mentioning as well that for some people, the level of stabilisation that you get from the gimbal in particular might actually be more than they want. If you want to try and convey the fact that you're bouncing up and down and flying down the side of a mountain, then maybe less stabilisation is a good thing. So where does that leave me? Well, I'm actually going to keep the 7. I like the menu system on the back. It's a little bit more intuitive and easier to use. And also there are times when I'm not using the gimbal, and so having more stabilization is better. That clip we've just looked at, the 6 and the 7 without the gimbal, that pretty much sold it to me. There is a big improvement with the 7. It would have just been nice if they'd have said almost gimbal-like, but they didn't. They said gimbal-like. That quote is nonsense. Okay, and just for fun, I finished off riding home with the 7 in the gimbal, which is about as smooth and silky as you can possibly get, and the 6 running without the gimbal. Side by side, it gives you a really good idea of just how extremely better it is than not having anything running at all. In summary, gimbals are here to stay for a little bit longer yet. The 7 is very, very good, and don't always believe what you read in the box.